Welcome to video 1 of Agreements Level 2. In today's video, we're going to learn the first component on how to create a working agreement. Now, integrity can be described as doing what you say you are going to do. Don Miguel Ruiz of the 4 Agreements says in this first agreement, be impeccable with your word. How many of you would like to be someone of their word? I mean, why would we want to be someone of our word? Probably to be trustworthy and to have less stress in our lives. So how does this tie into the big picture? The better you learn to create and keep agreements with others, the better you do with keeping agreements with yourself. And those are the really important ones here. These are the ones that determine your success or failure in your life. Because before we even begin planning our life goals and making changes in our lives, we must learn to keep our agreements with ourselves. The thing is, most of us don't trust that we will actually get where we want to go, and thus all that planning will be lost. I mean, how many times have you done that before? So here's how to create working agreements. First, write down all your agreements. This will help you to keep them clear. Clear on when you make the agreement and clear when you reach the time the agreement is to be fulfilled. Write down the agreements that others make with you, as well as the ones you make with others, as well as the ones you make with yourself. A couple of things to include. Who's carrying the bulk of the agreement? And is there a deadline for your agreement? Are there certain criteria that must be met? Is this a two-sided agreement? If so, who's accountable for what? And the key final step in creating an agreement is to restate the agreement. Say it back to them. So our agreement is you're going to be on time to the meeting tomorrow. The agreement is you're going to work out 3 times this week. This is a critical step. Then you ask, do we have an agreement? Clarifies that this is an official agreement. A bonus question you can ask here is, if not keeping this agreement would cost you $1,000, is there anything else that we can put in the agreement to guarantee the results? Or if them not keeping their agreement would cost me $1,000, what would I do to guarantee my results or help them and coach them into success or more clarity? How many times do we send somebody out in the world with an agreement knowing they're not going to keep it? And that actually reflects back on us. These questions help solidify the agreement. Again, how often in the past broken agreements probably have not been kept only because you weren't on the same page at the time of making the agreement? How much energy will you save when you know exactly what you're agreeing to, when others know exactly what's expected of them? Now, you may be wondering, if the purpose of writing down the agreement is to get clear on it, then why repeat the agreement back to the person? Isn't that enough? The reason is, if this agreement is important enough for you to follow through on, it's important enough to write down and commit to a system. If you don't have a system, you don't guarantee your results. The truth about humans is, we perform to deadlines and expectations. Writing down your agreements is a crucial step to creating a system that will help you to perform to those deadlines and expectations, and to help you help others to do so too. Now, I must warn you that when you start writing down all your agreements, you may be experiencing some overwhelm. Like, wow, I'm agreeing to a lot, I'm promising a lot of people a lot of things, and holding a lot of people accountable. This is all part of the plan. This increases awareness. Although it may be overwhelming, it shows you how many agreements you're really making. Because the truth is, you've been making these agreements all along. You just haven't been as aware of them. You just haven't been as clear on what you're actually agreeing to. The involved parties just haven't always been on the same page. For example, this was my system. When I was challenged to move from a full-time firefighter, running around putting fires out, emergency to emergency, to the master of my own destiny, I used this little book as a system to write down all my agreements. This is how I guaranteed my results. In fact, on the front of it I wrote, do I really want to make this commitment? As a reminder before I made a new agreement. In fact, after a while, it became a thing of people around me, my colleagues, that would say, hey Doug, put that in your book, because it became a system that they could rely on. Now I use an electronic tracking system with reminders and time and location trackers. So for you, write down all of your agreements this week. Find clarity when you set an agreement, create a system, and guarantee your results. Up next, the second component of creating working agreements. Managing agreements in an unpredictable and chaotic world. We'll see you there.